How to Age in Place. Planning for a Happy, Independent, and Financially Secure Retirement by Mary A. Languirand, Ph.D., and Robert F. Bornstein, Ph.D. Narrated by Rosemary Benson. Introduction. How will you spend your retirement years? Kate and Tom prided themselves on being careful planners, especially when it came to something as important as retirement. They decided to retire early. Tom from his job as a professor, Kate from hers as a social worker. And since both were Civil War buffs, they bought a home in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, near the battlefield. They decided to purchase an older house, a fixer-upper, but it was worth it because they loved the old-fashioned fireplaces, rough-hewn wood floors, antique leaded glass, and beautiful carved banisters. Kate and Tom saved diligently for retirement and had accumulated a sizable nest egg. Now that they were living off savings rather than income, they decided to invest their funds conservatively, so they put most of their assets into a variable annuity. All went well for the first couple of years, and between trips to antique fairs and visits from their grandchildren, Kate and Tom were having the time of their lives. They went a little overboard here and there, upgrading the house and property, but this was the place the kids would have forever, so it seemed money well spent. Then the unexpected happened. Kate had a stroke. She was paralyzed on the left side. With hard work in rehab, Kate recovered much of her function, but she remained wheelchair-bound and required the assistance of home health aides 24/7. A good long-term care insurance policy helped cover the costs, which was a blessing. Not all long-term care policies actually cover in-home care. As Kate worked toward recovery, problems began to emerge. Because it was an older house, there was no bath or shower on the ground floor. The doorways were too narrow to accommodate a wheelchair, and the kitchen was so small that Kate couldn't enter it at all. She was essentially a prisoner of the living room. Not a good situation for someone with her busy, active personality. They explored the possibility of installing a ramp for Kate to enter and leave the house, and a lift to get her up and down the stairs, but the price of retrofitting the home was substantial. When the stock market tanked in 2008, the monthly income from their variable annuity went from $4,000 to less than $2,400. Because they were not yet fully vested in the annuity, this typically takes anywhere from 6 to 10 years, Kate and Tom were unable to access their funds without incurring a substantial early withdrawal penalty. At this point, they could no longer make their mortgage payments. They were forced to sell their house at a loss. Tom moved in with their daughter and her husband, and he went back to work part-time to help cover the bills. Kate entered a nursing home. The happy retirement that Kate and Tom had long envisioned was gone. Have you ever met anyone who wanted to spend their retirement years relying on others for help and support? Of course not. Kate and Tom certainly didn't. Like Kate and Tom, most of us plan to live at home, doing what we please, free to live out those long-deferred dreams that were put off in favor of work and raising a family. If most of us would like to spend our retirement years at home, why don't we? Sometimes the reasons are unavoidable. Poor health may require round-the-clock nursing care. Cognitive decline from Alzheimer's disease and other factors may make independent living impossible. But sometimes people can't live at home not because of health problems, but because they fail to plan ahead. They don't do the things they need to do to maintain their independence and age in place. What is aging in place? Aging in Place is a national movement aimed at enabling older adults to remain in their own homes by making available the social support, health care, and home maintenance services that people need to live safe, happy, productive lives in the community. Aging in place may mean continuing to live where you have lived for many years, or moving to a new residence or new locale that maximizes your ability to live independently. Aging in place involves confronting some practical issues. If left undone, these issues can interfere with independent living. Financial planning, safe housing, neighborhood safety and walkability, accessibility of services, a pharmacy, for example, or nearby grocery store, proactive medical and mental health care, opportunities for community, cultural, and civic engagement, and sustainability to ensure long-term cost-effectiveness. Beyond the practical issues, aging in place represents a philosophical shift, a social movement, which includes developing a new vision of healthy aging, a new attitude regarding needs of people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and the myriad ways in which older adults can contribute to society, and creating innovative, efficient models of eldercare services that make aging in place economically viable for the individual and society. As you can see, aging in place requires some planning, but arranging those services that will enable you to live independently, safely, and comfortably, and stay active and engaged throughout your retirement will help make aging in place the new normal. Kate and Tom. What went wrong? Kate and Tom had planned reasonably well, and they were certainly well-intentioned, but they made two critical errors that cost them dearly in the end. First, they didn't anticipate the possibility that they might someday have to modify their home to accommodate Kate's limited mobility, and they were unaware of how costly such home modifications can be. Second, they invested the majority of their funds in a variable annuity rather than diversifying their assets. Variable annuities can be an important part of one's post-retirement nest egg, as we discuss in Chapter 1. But unlike fixed annuities, their monthly payments may rise and fall with the stock market. And unlike money in a mutual fund, funds invested in an annuity cannot always be withdrawn without a substantial penalty if an emergency should arise. Lesson learned? Being proactive about financial planning and designing a living space where you can live safely and comfortably through your 80s and beyond are two crucial elements of aging in place. We address these issues in detail in Chapters 1 and 3. Lemons to Lemonade. Ellie's story. Ellie had experienced her share of ups and downs. Who hasn't? But she certainly hadn't expected to go through a divorce after 30 years of marriage, nor did she anticipate that, as part of the divorce settlement, she'd lose the beautiful split-level home she'd come to love. It all seemed overwhelming at first, too much to deal with all at once. But after a bit of time had passed, Ellie regained her composure. She decided to turn these lemons into lemonade, and she began to develop a plan of action. First, a place to live. With her share of proceeds from the sale of the house, Ellie bought a condo in a senior community. It was an adjustment, moving to a smaller space, but she soon found that freedom from maintaining a house and property actually gave her more time and energy for other things. Most senior communities provide services like lawn care and snow removal. Having comfortably downsized her lifestyle, Ellie was able to retire from her federal service job, securing a pension plus the guarantee of affordable secondary health insurance and long-term care insurance as part of her retirement package. Never one to sit quietly as life passed by, Ellie met with a certified financial planner to see what sorts of options she had with respect to her retirement savings. After investing the majority of her assets in relatively secure, conservative investments, some in mutual funds, some in an annuity, and some in CDs, Ellie mulled over various possibilities regarding what to do with the savings she had remaining. In the end, She decided to invest in Bubble Buddies.